Hey, it's Matt here with Peppercoat Barbecue. And today I just want to do a quick review of my old Country BBQ Pits Vaquero. It is their Santa Maria style grill. I've had this grill for a little over a year, maybe a year and a couple of months now, and I use it all the time. I cook on this thing once or twice a week, sometimes more than that. So I've got a lot of cooks, a lot of experience, and I want to share with you today the things that I've learned and kind of my experience with this grill, and to help you out if you're looking for a Santa Maria style grill, so you'll know if this is the one for you. So let's get the first thing out of the way. And look, maybe it's vain, maybe I'm shallow, but everybody's going to say that's a cool grill. I really like the way this thing looks. You've got a place down here to stack your wood. You know, when people come over to the house and they see this grill sitting on the back deck, when they walk up, they know they're getting a good steak. They know it's going to have that char. It's going to have that wood flavor. It's going to be restaurant quality. And so I really like the way that this grill looks just sitting out here on the deck. Secondly would just be the size of this grill. And I'm going to measure from the inside of the frame here on the grate so you get actual cooking area. And it's 35 inches across. And then the depth is right at 16 inches. So that gives you 560 square inches of cooking area. Thirdly would just be the quality of this grill. It is very well built. It is all welded construction. I like that it has the chains here for this raising and lowering mechanism. It doesn't have the cables. I know some of the more expensive Santa Maria grills, they have cables on them. I just like the look of these chains. It has a very heavy mechanism over here, a locking system. Just the size of this wheel that you turn to raise this, it just adds to that overall look, the durability of it, and the build quality. In its price range, I think I paid around $450 for it. It is better built than most grills that you get at that price. Most of them are bolted together. So the fourth thing that I really love about this grill is just the functionality of it. So I always had an issue with charcoal grills of not being able to get the space that I needed between the meat and the heat. Whether I couldn't get it close enough to get the char that I wanted, or if I couldn't get it far enough away to cook it at a slow temperature. This solves all of those problems. I have 20 inches here. So unless you got a real barn burner down here, you've got plenty of room to get this up off of the heat. It works great for low and slow. I've done chicken quarters, ribs, tri-tip, all on this grill. And if you're worried about the functionality and not having a lid, then, there's been several times that I've needed a lid. I will admit that. I would bring out an aluminum pan and cover up whatever I'm cooking. A couple of times I've just taken a piece of aluminum foil and tinted over the top of it, and that fixed the issue. That brings me right into the first thing that I would tell you to beware of if you are going to purchase this grill or any Santa Maria style grill. It will change the way you cook, or you will have to change the way you cook, maybe a better way to say that, because you don't have that lid. You're going to be cooking at a little lower temperature than what you're used to. So I personally would not invite a lot of people over for the first cook. Get some time behind the grill, get used to it, learn how, to control the fire, get the fire management down pat. And then when you have people coming over and they see this cool grill and they see you working this fire and working this grill, they're going to think he's the man or woman. The second thing that I would tell you to beware of, and it's not a major thing, but you probably are going to use more charcoal for two reasons. One, this is a much bigger space that you're going to be cooking on. It's not closed in like your Weber kettle or whatever that you're used to. And I'll just throw a bag in here for comparison. You can see where this bag of charcoal fits. Now, I'm not telling you to use a whole bag of charcoal. By no means. If you do that, you're going to have way too much heat. But you will use more charcoal on this grill. And secondly, you're going to be using more charcoal because it's going to be so much daggone fun out here cooking on this thing. You're going to want to be out here all the time. This pit did not come with fire brick, so I added those afterwards. It took 18 fire brick to line the bottom of this pit, and they fit in here pretty nicely, not very tight, but it's pretty good fit. it comes with these 2 charcoal trays or charcoal pans that are in the bottom. Now, I didn't use these but just a few times. So the issue with these, they are very thin metal. When you put your charcoal in here, the slits are kind of small. You're not getting a lot of air up through the charcoal. Didn't seem like that it was heating well. The metal was absorbing a lot of heat, and then these just begin to cup up. So I didn't use these but just a couple of times. Using fire brick presents its own set of challenges because after you cook, then you have ash that gets down in this crack between the fire brick and the wall of the grill, and you have to keep that cleaned down to prevent rust. I sweep the ash out of here every time that I cook. I've lined the bottom of my grill with aluminum foil when I put the fire brick in, but at least once a month I'll pull out all these fire brick, take out that aluminum foil, and I'll clean up any mess that may be around the edges or under the foil. You may notice also that it looks like there's oil under here, and that's because there is. I put a coat of PAM down before I put the aluminum foil down to try to prevent any rust from the moisture that comes from those fire brick. Now that I have this cleaned out, after a year of use, you can see that there's no rust in the bottom of this pit. So I'm just going to reverse the process now. I'm going to spray it with PAM, put down a double layer of aluminum foil, and put my fire brick back in. One other issue that I noticed with the fire brick is because there's no air coming up through the fire brick, sometimes it seems like my fire's struggling and I get more smoke coming from the fire than I would like. Seems like maybe if there was some vents on the front or the side that may help alleviate that a little bit. I don't know, but just be aware of that. Once the fire gets going good, it's usually not a problem, but when the fire gets low or when it first starts, sometimes you'll get a lot of smoke. The fourth thing that I would tell you to be aware of is if you are looking to buy one of these, and if you're watching this video or if you've seen these in the store, you already noticed this, okay? But there is no Brasero, and you know, depending on how much you want to cook or the style that you want to cook, that may be a deal breaker for you. And a Brasero, if you don't know, that's just a cage that you put your splits in, the splits burn down, and you rake your coals over, and you see that sometimes in Santa Maria or Argentine style grills. This one doesn't have the Brasero, so occasionally I will use it with splits. I will pile them up over here on one side and let them burn down, and then bring my ashes or my coals over. When you do that, you do lose a little bit of real estate, but you know, it depends on how many people you're cooking for, and if you're going to be using splits or if you're going to be using charcoal, whether or not that would be a deal breaker for you. So what are my complaints about this grill? And to be honest, I really have no complaints. If there are a couple of small things that I would mention, this grate here rocks back and forth. It doesn't fit very tightly in this channel. That doesn't seem like a lot of movement, but you know, it's enough. If you have hot dogs on here and you're cooking for a party, it can rock a little bit and they'll start rolling off into the fire. The biggest issue with this grate rocking with me is sometimes I will use a cast iron skillet up here. If you have oil in that, that's not something that you want sloshing around and sloshing over into the fire, because that can cause problems pretty quickly. But again, that's minimal. Vents, if it had some vents around in the front or maybe the end, some of the higher end units have that. But again, for what I paid for this, $450, you know, the whole top's open. I don't know if vents would help or not. So at the end of the day, would I buy this grill again? Absolutely. Should you buy it? Hey, that's up to you. You know, if it's worth it, if you think that the price is worth it to you, then absolutely buy it. I think that it's a great deal. I think that it's a great grill. And overall, I will say I've had more fun cooking on this grill than I ever have any other grill that I've ever had. If you like this grill and you want to see this grill running, then I'm going to put a playlist right over here, and it is all videos of me cooking different things on this grill. So go check that out, and I'll see you next time on Peppercoat BBQ.